question. And I don't want to cause national. I work in Gagauzia. So yeah, good question. So my name is Matt Rudder. I work in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Gagauzia, and therefore I'm Russian, not Romanian. I'm starting to learn Romanian. Good language. So was anyone a part of Diamond Challenge last year? Raise your hand if you were a part of Diamond Challenge last year. Okay. Okay, cool. Good. So we're going to be reviewing some information from last year, but this should be new information, hopefully exciting information. And I've got about an hour to tell you guys about something called the Lean Startup Methodology. Has anyone heard of this before, Lean Startup? No? You are in for a treasure today. So, all right, let's get started. The first question I have is, what does it mean to be entrepreneurial? Entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurial. Yeah, go ahead.
To work on yourself.
Say it again. To work on yourself? Or to work for yourself?
For yourself.
Work for yourself. Yep. What else?
Be able to create a business.
1 second. Develop a business idea. Develop a business.
Let's say.
Okay. So to work for yourself, develop a business idea.
To initiate something new.
To create something new.
To initiate a thing.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Innovation.
Innovation. Good.
You don't work for money. Money work for you.
Wow, that's insane. Yes, to pursue an opportunity, that's a great one. Okay, so when I talk to people about being entrepreneurial, a lot of them think about only business, right? The word entrepreneur usually means a business person. And why we are so excited about the Diamond Challenge is that it helps you become, if you learn these skills, to become entrepreneurial. I know that we have about close to 100 students who are a part of the Diamond Challenge competition this year. A lot of those people, a lot of you, may not become business people, right? You may be interested in becoming a doctor or becoming a lawyer. But if we learn how to be entrepreneurial and take opportunities and be innovative and solve problems, this information will help you no matter what career you do. And therefore, Diamond Challenge and the process that you will go through over the next couple of months will help you whether you decide to go into business or law or medicine, okay? Okay, so what is this entrepreneurial lean startup process? Well, it started with a man named Eric Ries, and he has this one quote that summarizes a lot of why he started this idea. He said, "The reason most startups or new companies fail is not because they build a bad product, it's that they build a product nobody needs." The meaning here is that when someone comes up with a new product or a new company or a new organization, they get so excited about building something that looks good and it works really fast and that is shiny, right? It looks good. But the products that fail they don't have a market, meaning no one really cares about how shiny your product is. They don't care about how fast your product is. They care about if it solves their problem or not, right? So the reason most companies fail is they don't solve anyone's problem. And so what he did is he built this structure, and I've reformed it a little bit, but it's a structure and a process that you can go through to learn what is someone's problem, what problem do they have, how can I solve it as a company, how can I test that, and once we know that we have a good way of solving someone's problem with our product or with our service, then we can start to scale or grow our business idea. Okay? So on some of your papers here, so you don't fire away vigorously, you have a lot of this information in Romanian on your paper here, And then if you flip to this third page, at the bottom, I have a link right here. And at this, if you go to it, there will be about 15 documents where you can study more information on these topics. And I have this presentation there. So don't feel like you need to write everything, but you do have paper to write some of the most important stuff, okay? So if you want to get it later, you can. All right, so moving forward. This process, what we're going to talk about, what I will talk to you about, is the idea and the model section. It's going to be about how do you know you have a good idea for a business? How do you determine what problems are out there in the world that you want to solve? And then how do you create a model, which is called the Lean Canvas? How do you create a model of how your business is going to work? And then we'll have someone later on today talk about testing that. So, when Eric Ries was studying the process of starting new companies, what he decided, what he found out, is that startups are not smaller versions of a larger company. What could that mean? What do you think that means? Startups, new companies are not the same as big companies.
Startups are usually businesses that are innovative.
Okay, yeah, so they're usually innovative. Big companies can sometimes be innovative, but this is good. This is good. What else? There's an important point there too, I'll go back to. What does it mean that a startup is not the same? Or how might a startup, a new company, be different than a really big company? Go ahead.
If you have a good idea,
Yeah.
sooner or later it will become successful.
Okay. That is the hope of all entrepreneurs, right? If I just come up with a really, really good idea for a business, I will become successful. But if we go back to a couple slides ago, we heard that sometimes people have great ideas for a really fast and good product, but their business fails. And the purpose behind this statement, the meaning behind this statement, is that when we have new companies, we are guessing. We have a lot of assumptions, right? We don't know if people will like our product. We don't know if they have a use for our product. I think that they will like my product, but I don't know. And so, as you are starting your companies, and as you are writing your plan for Diamond Challenge, we want you to be very open about what you think is right, and then how you can test that, how you can determine if your assumptions or your guesses are correct. With big companies, they know the market, right? They know for the past 10 years, I've been selling this product. If I make this change to my product, I will get more sales. They know much more information. At the very beginning, we have a different process that we have to go through because we don't know anything, right? Why this is important here, when I work with some Moldovan youth, they sometimes get advice from older people, and that's great. We try to look up to people who have been working in business for years. Sometimes the people who know the traditional way of starting a business don't think that they need to go ask customers about their product, or they don't think they need to go through some of these steps. And the reason is, when you're starting a new company, it's very different than if you already have an existing company. So it's important for you, youth, as you go out and you speak with people who know about business, to understand that what they can share with you, their experience, is very, very important for understanding how business works. But you may need different ways and different processes to start your business. And that's what we'll share with you today, is that the process of how to start that new company. Alright, so as we said, what is a startup? A startup is a temporary organization. You're just working on it in order to become a full company. When you're a startup, you're new. It's something different than a full business. So a startup is a temporary organization that is searching for a business model, meaning all that I put on my Lean Canvas, or all that I put on my business plan, are guesses. And what I need to do in my first few months or my first year operating as a business is I need to know if my guesses are correct. I need to know if what I assume people like, if they actually like it. Okay? And that's when you transfer into a business. So usually when you are starting a business, you write a really long business plan. What we're going to talk to you about today is how to create, within about 1 hour, a model and then test that model. So you don't need to spend 2 months writing a business plan. You can spend 1 or 2 hours writing a model. Similarly, when you are writing a business plan, you guess a lot, and most of the information in your business plan is usually wrong because you've never spoken to someone about it. What we want you to do is to go out and do something called customer development, which means speak to people about your business idea. And then, when you hear from them, when you know exactly what they like, when you know what problems they have, put that information onto this piece of paper. And then lastly, usually a business plan doesn't change. You write it, and then you set it on your desk, and you're done. That's usually what happens because it's long and it takes a long time to change. With this, we want you to, as you go through the next 2 or 3 months, we want you to constantly be making changes. When you speak to people and you understand, you know, my solution to their problem is not right. I need to make a change. It's okay. It's expected that you make changes every week to the information on this paper. All right, so when I speak to people about this, these ideas, they often ask, well, does this work in Moldova? We understand that it works in America. Does it work in Moldova? And fortunately, because I've been here for 2 years, I am able to share with you a couple quick examples of this actually working in Moldova. So there are clothing companies that are lean startups that I've worked with. And what they do is, when they have an idea for a new brand of clothing, instead of assuming that people will like what their clothes look like, they go and they test it beforehand. And they write on pieces of paper for no money at all. They don't print a shirt. They just write on pieces of paper what the clothes will look like, what the shirt will look like or the pants will look like. And they show it to people and they say, I can make you this piece of clothing and it will cost 50 lei. Are you interested? If they say no, and if lots of people say no, they change the design. If they say yes, this is important, they require them to pay for the clothes before they get it. As you are testing your business ideas, you don't want to just hear people say, yes, if you create that product, I think I'll buy it sometime in the future, right? You want to make them give you something, an email address or a name, or hopefully some money, and to order the product before they actually have it. There are other companies that do it with fresh juice stands. They were able to, I'm not going to get too far into this because I know you'll have a presentation about it later, but they were able to rent a location instead of buying a location. They were able to not invest all the money up front, but find ways to determine if their business idea was a good idea before investing lots of money, before wasting lots of money. It's been done with restaurants in Gaguzia I've worked with. There's an interior designer. And if you have questions about these companies, there's many more in the IT sector. If you have questions about those, ask me later of how other people have been using this process in Moldova. And I can promise you it works. All right, so let's get started with this first section, the idea section. And as it says on your paper, what you're going to start with are something called problem interviews. And when people come to me at my office, I often have some younger Moldovans from the area, and they say that they want to start a business and they're looking for a good idea. They know that they want to be their own boss, but they don't know what company to start. And when they ask me, what type of business should I start, I give them these 3 circles, or this diagram. And I say, well, you need to start something, most importantly, that is needed, right? So you need to solve some type of problem. If no one's going to buy your product, it's not going to be a good business. But you also need to think about what you're interested in, because if it's boring to you, you won't be able to do this year after year after year. You'll get bored, and you won't run a company as well as those people who have an interest in their company. And then you should also be talented. So I have a great interest in music. I am a terrible singer and an even worse guitar player. So I will not create a living as a musician. That's not going to be my business. You need all three things, okay? And what I tell them is try to find an idea that's going to be right in the middle of all three of those. Let me ask you, how many of you have an idea for your Diamond Challenge business? Most of you. Okay, cool. Good, good, good. Does your idea fit those three? Somewhat? Okay, good. You can always change your ideas. It's okay. All right, so for the problem customer fit, we're trying to see if a problem exists and if it's worth solving. As I said, you're not going to have a good business if the people that you want to sell to, your potential customers, do not have a problem that you're going to solve. We're going to keep hearing this word problem come up more and more. What you do when you have this idea for starting a business, for instance, you want to start a new hair salon. What you do with the lean process is you go out and you interview people. It's called a problem interview. And why you do this is you want to understand what is the problem that someone has. Their hair is too long, there's no place that can make it for most in town. And you want to understand why it is a problem. They're trying to impress this really cute guy and they just can't get their hair right. You want to understand who has the problem, if it is people who have money, or if it's people who maybe don't have money, or they're not willing to spend money. Who is that customer that has the problem? And then also, how do they currently solve the problem? So are there other frizzerias in town, or maybe they do it themselves, right? Try to understand those three questions. And so you can actually come out with an example script, and all of this is online for you to check out later. But the first question, most important question, is what is the hardest part about something, about your problem context? So if I'm starting a new salon, I could say, what is the hardest problem or the hardest part about a time when you were going out to, do you guys have dances? Dance? Yeah? Yeah? Like a formal dance? Okay, so when was a time you were going out to a formal dance, but your hair was not frumose? Why was that a problem? And get the person to talk about it. And in America, if you ask that question to some girls, they would get very passionate about it, right? There are some guys who would care less. They said, yeah, my hair probably didn't look good, but I don't care. And from that, you start to understand who will use your product. Okay, so mostly my customers are going to be girls, younger girls, and probably not guys, right? The guys are not going to pay a lot of money to have frumose hair. All right, so can you tell me about the last time this happened? Get them to give you emotions about what was the problem, why it was a problem, and understand what it cost them. If it cost them a guy, if it cost them a lot of money, right? Get them to tell you what was the real problem underneath just not having pretty hair. Why was that hard? Keep asking me why in this interview. And then what, if anything, have you done to solve that problem? See if they had another frizzeria in town or if they cut it themselves. And then what was not great? What don't you love about that solution? Maybe the hair wasn't quite right. Maybe it cost 500 lei. I assume that's a lot of money for a haircut. I don't know. But maybe it was too long of a time. Try to understand what you can do better than the current solution that they have. Online, you'll have other questions that you can also ask. So take a look at those. How often do you have the problem? How much are you spending? Try to understand what your price is going to be for your product. And what you really want to focus on are the emotional reactions. If they have an emotional reaction and they had a really bad problem, that's a good sign for you. Because if someone has a strong emotional reaction, that means they are probably willing to pay you money to have a solution, right? If they have no emotional reaction, like the guys may have no emotional reaction, well, maybe they're not going to pay you money. Maybe they are not your customer, okay? You want to do this process called 5 whys. Keep asking why it is a problem 5 different times to understand what is the problem underneath the problem. Why does not having pretty hair, why is that a problem? Well, I'm self-conscious and I really want this guy, and what you're doing by creating a salon is not just cutting someone's hair, you're actually helping their love life. You're helping them meet people, right? You need to understand that, and we'll talk about why later. And then try to do this about 3 times with people. See if they've had a problem, for instance, not having the right type of hair 3 times in their life. Well, when I was in Lyceum, I had this problem. When I was going on my first interview for a company, I had this problem. And for my wedding, I had this problem. Try to see if they had this problem 3 different times. Okay? Some do's and don'ts. Do, try to speak with your customer face to face. That's always best. Try to use a script, and I gave you an example script, meaning you want to try to ask people the same question every time, because that way you'll have a better understanding of their own opinion, and you won't bias it. You won't assume that they have a problem. You'll just ask if they have a problem. You also want to take notes, and sometimes it's helpful if you have a partner who will take notes for you. And then you want to listen and ask questions to them. You don't want to be speaking very much. You want to listen and ask questions. So what not to do is you don't want to present your solution. You don't want to present your business to them. All you're trying to do is listen and ask questions. You don't want to bias them by telling them you have a solution. Okay? We'll get to that part later. You don't want to ask about the future. What would you do in the future if there was a salon in your area? If you ask someone that, they don't know. People don't know the future. They don't know what they're going to do in the future. What's most important is understanding what they did do in the past. Okay? When you're first talking to people, before you've created your products, you want to ask questions about what they have done in the past. That's more concrete information. And whatever they plan to do in the future is just a guess. And then try to make sure that you're strict on time. Don't take too much time. What then you can do, after you've done these customer interviews, you can do some research. And you can go and visit other similar businesses. If I want to make a salon, and a lot of women have this problem with Nufromos hair, then I can go out there and I can see what other types of businesses, salon businesses, exist. What problems they have, how many customers they have. Try to see what are the other solutions and how much they cost, what they do, what type of product they have or function they have, and then how they make money. Maybe they don't only cut people's hair, they also make balloons for people, or they also prepare flowers for people, right? Try to get ideas for how they make money, and that's the revenue model. What similar businesses have failed? Maybe there was a salon in your town 3 years ago, and it's shut down. Well, you need to try to find out why that has shut down. This is an important piece, because I deal with a lot of businesses who just say, well, they failed because they were bad business people, I'm going to be better. The problem is they don't know why this other business failed, and sometimes there are real reasons. Maybe it's a legal reason, maybe it's a reason because there is no customer. And so if there was a similar business in your area, that existed and failed. You really need to understand why that happened. And then what are some of the problems that are going to come when you're trying to start that business? It may take a lot of money. It may be something that has a legal issue or you need to be certified. Try to understand that. Here, when you look up the presentation later, you can go to places like Statistica MD that have local research. There's also a Doing Business in Moldova report. If you go to this, and it talks about how, what is the culture of business in Moldova. And then there are other resources that you can use to determine if this is a trend or a type of business that is growing or shrinking. Is it better to start a business that has a rising trend or a dying trend? Rising or dying trend? What do you think?
Right.
Rising. Okay, why?
Because if it's failing, you tend to think about it.
Okay, good. What could be a risk of starting a business that is a brand new rising trend?
Not meeting up with the expectations.
Great, great. What do you mean by that?
People have certain expectations in the trend and don't meet the certain qualifications, and that may be.
Good, good, good. Yeah, so maybe you're not as professional, you don't have the same quality that they expected. Another thing is, we get this in America a lot. Right now, there are many, many companies that are creating applications for smartphones, right? There are probably millions of companies that have started in the past couple of years. Million is a lot. Thousands of companies that have started in the past 3 or 4 years to create these little applications on your phone. And it's a rising trend, but it's not going to last a long time. And just like internet companies, just like some toys, they have a trend that only lasts for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years. But what we want to try to recognize and what we want to try to identify are types of businesses that will last a long time. Types of problems that people have had for years and years and years. And we want to be solving big problems in the world and problems that will continue to exist many years down the road. Okay? All right. So that is the idea section, first of 4 today. What questions do you guys have? Any questions about the idea section? Am I speaking too slowly, too quickly? Okay. All right, so let's move on to the model section. We're going to talk about the lean canvas. You guys can flip to this last page to take a look at that. Also, on the 3rd page, we have in Romanian to help you guys out if you need some of the words. We have most of the words on this presentation are going to be on this 3rd page in Romanian. Okay, so this is determining if the way that you think your business will work will actually fit into a profitable model or a profitable sketch of how to create a business. At this point, in order to have gotten to the model section, it means that you did customer interviews and you did some research, and what you determined is, who can answer that? What would allow you to move from this section over to here?
We find the solution.
Say that again?
We find the solution.
To find the solution?
This is the goal.
Yeah, it is the goal, and that's what we will get to next with the canvas. So good, that's what we're moving to. But before we can leave this section, the idea section, what do we need to know?
Problem.
Problem?
If your idea will solve someone.
Say it one more time a little louder.
If your idea will solve someone's problem.
Okay,
Customer.
we are getting to that next. Okay, go ahead.
First people need your solution.
If people need your solution, if people need a solution, right? Okay, so it's the combination of these two. We need to know that there is a problem, that people in the world have a problem about this situation. And we need to know that they want a solution, right? It's a big enough problem that they're willing to pay money for some type of solution, okay? And after I've done the interviews, after I have done the research, that is when I'm allowed to move from just having an idea about a business to say, yeah, this is the right idea to move forward with. And this is the idea I'm going to try to create a model for. Okay, so let's keep moving to the lean canvas. Why is the lean canvas important? A few things, and I'll give you a little background. This is my dorm room where I lived when I was in university. And this is where my bed was, right down here. My pillow is right here. Every morning when I woke up, I got to look at my business plan, my business idea. And if you guys see, on my wall was a sketch or an outline of the lean canvas. If you feel like doing this, you are welcome to do this in your own homes. I just put tape up. But what you can do, and one of the nice things about doing something like this, of using a lean canvas, is that it's fast. It took me about 1 hour to put all of those little sticky notes onto my canvas, onto the wall that I had, and to get a good idea of what type of business I'm going to create. It's also concise, meaning I don't have a lot of information there about the future. I don't have information about how many products I intend to sell, I expect to sell in 5 years or in 10 years. I don't have information here about my competitors, really. I don't have information that is not important for me to know at day one. All I have, the only thing that was on my wall, is the most important information. And lastly, it's dynamic. By that I mean, every morning when I woke up, I could take a look at my business, and whether it's on your wall or on your piece of paper, you can change it very, very quickly. And we expect you to make changes. Maybe not every day, but when you wake up in the morning and you have a brilliant idea, we expect you to make changes to this canvas, okay, to this piece of paper.